Happy Halloween! By all means, go out and party, but what if you're a grumpy loner like me, and all you want to do is spend a dark and stormy evening at home? Well, what better way to enjoy yourself than with a creepy, scary, or generally disturbing film? Last week I asked a bunch of folks on Twitter and Facebook for their favorite Halloween-y films, and I got some spooktacular suggestions. I gathered up the best ones, threw away the raisins, and now here are your best bets for a creepy film fest. Almost all of the suggestions fell into two categories: powerful women and weird men. Topping the list of powerful women is Death Becomes Her, featuring Meryl and Goldie battling each other and old age. They find a potion that provides eternal youth, but there's a catch.
No warning. Now a warning?
Eternal youth can be kind of unseemly, particularly when you have a giant hole in your torso. Next up, Serial Mom, a murderous suburban rampage that's John Waters plus a little Alfred Hitchcock. If you're watching this with children, by which I mean anyone under 20, you'll have to pause the movie to explain what rewinding the tape means. And by the way, if you're a fan of either the movie Serial Mom or the podcast Serial, you might enjoy this strange mashup of the two that I made a while back. And speaking of kids, you can give them some guaranteed nightmares with The Witches, a children's film that is way too scary for children. I like the book better, but the movie achieves a strange terror that most adult horror films never reach, thanks in part to Anjelica Huston's deliciously evil Grand High Witch, and some prosthetic puppetry that haunted me as a child and frankly still does to this day. I explored this strange allure of witches in a prior video, and sure enough, when I asked for Halloween recommendations, I was pointed repeatedly to Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. It's of a genre you might call spooky goofy, kinda scary with lots of dumb puns, plus an alarmingly plunging neckline. Or for something slightly tamer, consider pairing that with Hocus Pocus, a film that basically depicts witches as drag queens. That film, by the way, is directed by Kenny Ortega, the man responsible for High School Musical, so this is clearly a fellow who loves his camp. Now, I don't know that much about the movie The Hunger, other than that it's been recommended to me repeatedly by people I trust, and I'm willing to give any movie a shot that describes its cast thusly.
The timeless beauty of Catherine Deneuve. The cruel elegance of David Bowie. The open sensuality of Susan Sarandon.
David Bowie brings us to the second category of Halloween-y films, weird men. Take a look at Bram Stoker's Dracula, one of those period films that manages to remind me more of a 90s music video than the period in which it's actually set. Gary Oldman is incredibly creepy and does a perfect job of chewing the scenery when he's not chewing the cast. You might try pairing that film with The Lost Boys, a vampire movie that's oozing with heartthrobs and homoeroticism. It's got two Coreys for the price of one, Haim and Feldman, plus Kiefer Sutherland and a vampire gang that looks like a hairband waiting to be discovered. My personal favorite is The Rocky Horror Picture Show. I just posted a separate video about how this film changed my life, but if you have somehow managed to get this far without seeing it, all you need to know is it's a haunted house rock musical with an uncontrollable libido, and the main villain, or hero, depending on how you look at it, was doing things with gender before they were trendy. That's Tim Curry, by the way, who just a few years later was inexplicably appearing in the dreadfully schlocky special called The Worst Witch that has, for reasons I cannot explain, an amazing cast, including Dame Diana Rigg, as well as Fairuza Balk, who is herself no stranger to creepy films. The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Craft, Return to Oz, but I'm getting distracted. The Worst Witch is just a strange movie, but it becomes a thing of genius when Tim Curry appears to sing Anything Can Happen on Halloween, featuring the state-of-the-art in video effects and such lines as, "Has anybody seen my tambourine?" It's sort of a spiritual successor to jaw-dropping Halloween specials like Paul Lynde's bizarre 1976 show starring Margaret Hamilton, that's the Wicked Witch of the West, alongside, for no discernible reason, Betty White, the Osmonds, and the band Kiss. It's pure 70s disaster, and it is impossible for me to look away. You may also find yourself transfixed by Nightmare on Elm Street 2, a movie that's at the upper limits of the level of scariness I can cope with. What's so amazing about this sequel is how it inverts the usual victim of a slasher film. Instead of a terrified girl, it's a boy, although he's clearly in touch with a feminine side. I made a whole video about this movie's queer subtext and occasional supertext, which you can find on my YouTube channel. Now, it's gonna take some planning, but if you really want your movies and your holidays to coincide, you'll space out the Addams Family over the next 2 months. Angelica Houston is back as Morticia, but really every member of the cast is perfectly on point as the altogether ooky family who lives in a state of perpetual Halloweenishness. The first film should carry you through Halloween, and the second one features a Thanksgiving sequence that should be your annual tradition. And I really wish there was a third Addams Family movie to bring us to Christmas, but fortunately, that's where Nightmare Before Christmas takes up the slack, as one of the only films that has a timeliness extending all the way from early autumn to the dead of winter. And I do mean dead. There you have it, your best bets for a spooky film night. I'm sure I missed a whole bunch of good ones, so let me know your favorites in the comments or at Matt Baum on Twitter. You can also subscribe to my podcast, The Sewers of Paris, for revealing stories about the entertainment that changed the lives of gay men, and remember to subscribe for more videos. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's time for me to get into my costume. I'm going as a sexy YouTube personality. Ta-da!